I'd never done it before, but I was like, let's give it a shot. And I wrote 3 hours of content. I created all these characters. I had songs written. I just like went into this like insular place where I was like, I'm just going to write and write and write. I came out with a whole bunch of mess. Everything's poorly formatted, but I was like, I have everything. And then we just started production. I just learned as we went, and it near killed me. But we pulled it off.
Oh, wow. Welcome to Create Up with Will Ennis. Create Up. What's that? A podcast on how to make a living as an artist. An entire living? That sounds hard. I know. So each episode, I'll interview a different artist about the steps they took to level up and, turn pro. So to create up is to level up creatively. Yeah. Okay. Meisha Watson can do a lot. Like, a lot. She was a host of YTV's The Zone, where she was an instant hit with kids and parents all over the country. But when she left the show, a serendipitous event led her to this opportunity that's been both intimidating and deeply rewarding for her, and mind-boggling to me. In a very short time, she's created a really good variety show called Hey Misha. It's a half-hour show for kids, sharing her love of the Bible through comedy sketches and songs. But here's the thing. She's a writer, showrunner, producer, director, and performer, and it's weekly. So she's like an SNL cast member and writer and Lorne Michaels at the same time. I suspect she may have been created in a lab by British scientists, but I have no proof. But I do know, as fact, she's one of the kindest, warmest people I've met. In this episode, we talk about her time at YTV, the pressures of running a show, and she gives advice to performers looking to make it in the industry. So without further ado, here's my chat with the undeniably talented Meisha Watson. All right, Misha, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to do this. Let's do it.
You started as an actor, but now you're an actor, creator, writer, producer, title, so many things. But
Yeah.
it must be great to be like in the driver's seat. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, absolutely. You know what it is like when you are acting, specifically in the beginning of your career, you're doing a lot of commercials, right? When
yeah.
you get on set and you're in a commercial, you have very little say over anything. What you wear, how your hair looks, definitely what your lines are. You can't like give them any ideas as to how you want to say it. And as much as it was so much fun being a part of a really big set, now in my career, I'm able to write the script, choose who I want to say it, how they say it, what they wear. I can choose what kind of food I want on set. Like, I had this really big opportunity to kind of do what I've always dreamed. And I think having both sides of it, like being the actor, being the writer, being the director, and now also being a producer, I wouldn't want to do any other way moving forward. Like, I always want to be hands-on in whatever it is that I'm creating moving forward, for sure. Absolutely, for sure.
And we should let people know right now, what are you most known for right now, would you say, creatively?
Okay, so basically, yeah, coming off of YTV last year, I was a host on The Zone and The Zone Weekend. I did that for about 3 years. And then I kind of stayed in the same realm of kids. And now I work on a religious broadcast called Yes TV. And I created a show called Hey Misha, which is a biblical teaching variety show for kids. So it's like a comedy show about the Bible. And it's musical, fun, funny, all those things. And so I kind of just stayed in this kids realm. I feel like I have a kid mentality all the way. So being on this show and working on that is like my dream.
So where do you see yourself going then? Do you see yourself sort of becoming a mogul? Because that's a lot of hats that you're wearing. Do you see yourself making your own network one day or expanding into different types of media or creativity?
Yeah, for sure. Like I'm excited to continue to learn in this space. Like, the broadcaster I'm on, Yes TV, is very small. So I'm able to like having this opportunity as the only kids content creator at this network means that I get to have my hands in a lot of different places. But it also means I'm still learning from a broadcaster. So I'm actually still learning how to make ratings go up and the importance of ratings. I'm learning a whole bunch of terminology I've never learned before. So my goal one day is to apply and work. Maybe this is like a huge thing I wanted to try, but would be to work at Children's BBC in England.
Oh.
That's where I'm from. Born and raised, and I want to stay in the kids realm. I love it, but I think I want to, like, I guess, be the best in my industry, and I feel like I got by doing YTV's The Zone, like we were the number one hosting group in Canada for
Hmm.
kids, and they continue to be that. So I want to continue in that, be the best, the best, the best.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a great goal. And I wanted to cover YTV a bit. You were saying it's one
Mm.
of the best known broadcasters for kids,
Mm.
and I definitely knew that. I mean, growing up, I remember watching. There was Much Music and YTV, and they both had these VJs or DJs or whatever, and they were such cool, iconic people. And as I got older, I thought, geez, that'd be a cool job. Like, what was that like?
Honestly, Will, it was amazing. Like, I basically had the greatest job. I'd show up at work. So this is like the beginning of my career. Like, I'd been acting at that point for like 3, maybe 4 years, and I get this job. I get to set, and they say, "Here's your wardrobe," and I'm like, "What? I'm so broke. This is awesome. I have clothes now."
Not just like a character
Yeah, not
costume, just
even
like
no.
legit how to like sort of for your personal brand. This is what you're gonna look like. That's sick.
Exactly. They were like, here's your jeans, here's your shoes, here's like jackets, t-shirts. Like a lot of different kids broadcasters will not like let you have kind of a style, like have be cool on TV. But YTV was always like, no, like we have the cool host. So we had like cool outfits. We had great stylists who would come in and like do all that with us. And then we get to set and they would hand us scripts. And I think that was one thing where people don't realize is that majority of it is scripted, but
Mhm.
we get the scripts like 30 seconds before we are required to perform it because we have to go through so many scripts every single day. So
Ah.
one thing that I think people underestimate about the zone host is the ability to improv, yes, but also we have to digest so many scripts so quickly on that show because we're shooting like sometimes 27 pieces
Oh my
before
gosh.
lunch. Do you know what I mean? So it's a lot to take in.
That's a surprise. I would have thought at that rate you'd be improvising more, but learning content, that's a whole other skill from improv too. Was that something you were
Oh,
naturally good
definitely.
at?
Yeah.
Just yeah, just like picking up a script with it. Like, what do you do there? Because I mean, as an actor, sometimes I'll have a script and time and rereading it will inform my choices. But if time is limited, do you see benefits to that? Like it just
Mm.
makes you zero in on the most obvious choice or the most like the truest choice sometimes just comes to the top of the mind. Like you don't
Yeah, I'd
overthink
say
it.
truest choice is like yeah, truest choice is definitely the way I would phrase it because they're writing the scripts because they know you better. So in the beginning, when I got there, they had no idea who I
Mhm.
was as a host or as a person. So they're writing the scripts based on what they know. She has big hair, she's got a British accent. Sometimes it sounds kind
Mhm.
of Canadian. She's really tall. That's kind of all they got, right? So after the time passed on, I was able to like they got to know me a bit better, know that I'm a foodie, know that I like sports, but only certain sports, and
Ah,
understand certain stuff like that. So when they were
yeah,
writing the jokes and stuff like that, it just featured more of my actual personality, and so
yeah.
it just became easier to just say, oh, this is where I want to take the joke, or this is what I want to do. As time went on, I would say, however, that because it's YTV, we get a lot of sales pitches that we do. So, like for cheese
Mm,
strings or whatever kind of zoo or candy or chips or whatever we got to talk about. And those scripts are the worst. Like they
yeah.
are so condensed and there's so much you got to do and there's not much wiggle room. So they have to be verbatim said. Whereas like on a script, if I mess up a line, kind of, but it's still funny, it's good.
And they're written by the network?
Oh yeah,
Mm.
they're written by the network. So everyone who is upstairs in the producing suite, they come down and they go, "Okay, today we're doing this," and you're like, "Oh man!" Like a sales day is not a fun day for us. A fun day is just like improv all day, you know?
And locations, like, did you get to travel a
Yeah.
lot with YTV?
Oh yeah, we did. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked. So basically, like I'd say over the 3 years that I did that, I got to see so much of Canada that I would never have seen. Like on my very first year at YTV, I went to the Yukon and I did horse sledding. I know people have polarizing thoughts on how that is with dog
Mm,
sledding.
mhm.
But I got to try it and it was unbelievable in the Yukon and meeting people that live there. And I was like, when would I ever get to like travel on a tiny tin plane and fly out to the Yukon and just have
Oh, wow.
fun and interview kids and then come right back? Yeah, YTV was unbelievable and it taught me that, you can really expand the brand if you go into the cities. So going
Mm.
into Prince Edward Island and seeing kids there who celebrities never visit Prince Edward Island. Like they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And those people will be fans of YTV forever, you know?
Yeah, totally. I wanted to switch gears real quick to the creation
Mm.
of Hey Misha. How'd you pitch this show? How did it become a thing?
Yeah. So basically, what happened was that so we're in 2020 right now. So it would have been, was it 2018? Yeah, 2018, like December. I was ready to go. Like I was like, I'm ready to leave YTV. I want bigger and better things. I want to have my hand on more work and stuff like that. And so I ended up heading out to an interview on a Christian show where they wanted to interview me and say, "Hey, you're a Christian host. How does your faith work in your community?" Blah blah blah. And so I was like, sure, let's do it. When I went to that interview, the CEO for Yes TV was in the audience and she was like, "You're really fun. What do you want to do?" I was like, "I'm ready to make my own stuff." She's like, "Great. Come back in January, pitch me a couple of shows and we'll see what we can do." I was like, "What?" Like, I'd never pitched a show before. I took some classes at Lyft earlier, which I highly recommend
Oh, on pitching?
for producing in downtown Toronto. Oh, yeah. They do pitching, producing, editing, like everything. Um, the liaison for independent filmmakers in Toronto. Yeah. So I took those classes and I was like, okay, I can pitch, no problem. Went on Canva, made a couple pitches, and made 4 shows. One was like a game show, one was a sketch show, one was like, it was all over the place.
Yeah.
And so I came in January, I pitched these shows, and in that meeting, they greenlit Hey Misha. Now, at
Hmm.
that time, it was going to be like a YouTube show where it was going to be just like, 6 minutes or something. And I was like, sure, no problem. And then around in May, I'd already started filming some stuff. But in May, they found out that they needed to spend a certain amount of money to finish their year end goal. I don't really understand
Hmm.
how it works, to be totally honest with you. But essentially, they had to spend, and I will not say the number, but an absorbent amount of money in a short amount of time. And they were like, "Hey, Misha's just has barely started production right now. Do you want to like, Misha, can you pull this off kind of thing?" And I was like, "Can I do what?" They were like, "Can you make a full season in 2.5 months?" And I was like, "Yes," because you always say as an actor, yes, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'd never done it before, but I was like, let's give it a shot. And so I just hit the ground running. And I took a week off and I wrote 3 hours of content. I created all these characters. I had
Um,
songs written. Like I just like went into this like insular place where I was like, I'm just gonna write and write and write for like 7 days straight. I came out with a whole bunch of mess. Everything's poorly formatted, but I was like, I have everything. And then we just started production. I just learned as we went, and
hmm.
um, I'm sure we'll talk about this later on. But like specifically, I learned by failing in those two
Yeah.
and a half months, and it near killed me. But we pulled it off. So it definitely was a very formal pitch, and then
Mm.
a lot of wonderful things happened that enabled me to be able to make a half an hour show.
I can't believe it's half an hour and you're doing this in such a short amount of time. I was thinking about like hearing about
Hmm.
When Seinfeld first came out. Jerry and Larry David were just trying to get it made and just trying to get picked up. It was so difficult for them. It was like a nightmare. And then they got picked up. It was this big celebration. But then Larry David was saying the next like nightmarish thing was like, now you have to write it. Now you have to do it. Like all that content. You know what I mean? Like because I mean,
Yeah.
I guess there's a difference between when they're like, oh yeah, you can do, you can make some YouTube videos and all that. Now it's like we have all this money riding on it. Now we have all this
Oh yeah.
time needed to fill. Like, how do you deal with like the pressure sometimes? Like, what's a
Oh
good
man.
strategy?
Yeah, like it's so funny. I did this one panel with Amanda Paris and Stephen Mann, like the casting director guy,
Hmm.
and I remember being on that panel before I made the show, and I was like, to deal with stress, you got to make sure you get enough sleep, you eat well, drink lots of water. Like I was that person, and then when I was really thrown into stress, I was like, I didn't sleep for like 2.5 months. I didn't see
Yeah.
sun. Like last summer did not have a summer. I barely left the editing suite. I ate
Oh,
horribly. I ate basically pizza and burritos like every single day. I'm still figuring out my health from that.
the
But
editor weight gain.
oh my gosh.
I know it. I
Oh, it
know
was
it.
nuts. So, and I'm still on camera. I had to go in and do reshoots, and I'm still like basically filled with pizza.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I'd say for me, like as far as like stress of it goes, like I learned last year to set my boundaries because what was happening was
Hmm.
not only was I directing it. I was acting in it. I was then directing kids in the same
Hmm.
scene with me. I was playing characters. I was creating characters. I was singing. I was rapping. I was
Hmm.
making sure we had enough food. I was budgeting. I was, doing everything you can imagine under the sun and then delegating whatever I could. But I didn't say no to anything. So when someone would say, on top of
Hmm.
all that stuff, which was my job, if someone was like, "Hey, can we get you to write a blog post for something. Can you appear on this TV show? Do you mind doing this
Mm.
radio interview? Do you mind, like, even in my life, just being like, hey, so and so's birthday, can you chip in for, like, all of that stuff,
Yeah.
all at once? I said yes to everything, because when you're an actor, and this is like
Mm-hmm.
pre-Hey Misha, and you're taking auditions, you don't say no to any audition. Do you have herpes
Mm-hmm.
on camera? Sure. They're like, I'll do that commercial. Whatever, man. Like, let's go. And I was so used to doing that. And then when I became a producer, I was like, I actually need to say no and say, like, I
Yeah.
need to sleep. I need to just be away from people. I need to be able to read. I need to really re-energize myself. So this year, I've
Mm.
always been about, like, boundaries. So I would tell
Mm-hmm.
people, yes, it's very important in the beginning of your career to say yes to everything. Like, you don't have any clout yet. So just say yes to it and go do it and work it out as you go.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if you don't agree with the content matter, maybe not, but, like, go for it. Say yes to as many things as possible. But for being a producer and taking on the pressure I was taking on, I had to say no to things. Like, I'll just set a scene for you specifically.
Mm-hmm.
When we were editing Hey Misha, it's fully green screen show. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the editors that I had are unbelievable, but they had not worked with green screen in the format and the magnitude that I was requiring. I was like, we're not going to do some basic show where the green screen is, like, really flat. We're going to have, like, levels of green screen. We're going to have, like, music that we've made. We're not going to just, like, pick stuff off of killer tracks. We're going to, like, really make it happen. And I was expecting a lot from them. So in that, they had a lot of pressure on them themselves. But
Mm-hmm.
our computers had never experienced the amount of, like, horsepower, or, like, we didn't use as much horsepower
Oh
ever
yeah.
before. So we broke like 7 MacBook Pros in two and a
Oh
half
no.
months. Like, they just
Oh my gosh.
died.
Did you learn a lot about like RAM? Like I'm just learning that now. I'm trying to do more video edits for people and do more music, and it's like it's pretty
Mm.
empowering when you start to learn about like what's going to kill your computer, what's fine, all that
Ugh,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I cried so much. Like, I learned all about it because, yeah, I never had to use it before. I was editing on, like, iMovie, whatever, and
mhm.
then all of a sudden they were like, "Your show airs tomorrow, and your computer is now dead." And you're like, "Why?" And they're like, "Oh, that computer only has this, or this is only a screen." Like, I'd look at it and be like, "This is a MacBook Pro." They'd be like, "No, this is technically just an Apple screen, and we're using this modem." And I'm like, "What? What? What?" Like, it was just like the worst. I'm getting sweats just thinking about it.
So what would happen if the show didn't go to air? Like what would happen if like clearly I think you got over that
Oh,
challenge.
well, yeah. So I actually remember specifically, the way we ended up having to do it was we would edit an episode, and then it would air, and then we'd start the next episode that day. So I
Wow.
actually didn't watch the premiere of Hey Misha, my first show with my name and, like, all this stuff. I didn't watch it because I was asleep, because I started working at, like, 7, and then I got home back to Toronto because we shoot in Burlington. I got home back to Toronto at 7 a.m., and then I went to
Mhm.
sleep, and the show airs at 8 a.m. So I slept through
Oh my
it.
gosh.
The thing is that you can't not have the show air, because we've been doing marketing this whole time. So we're still editing, but I'm
Yeah.
also still, like, approving social media posts. We have a billboard in Yonge and Dundas Square that says it airs at 8 o'clock. So if I
Mm.
don't finish it that night and not sleep, that billboard is saying 8 o'clock, but it's not going to air. So we have to, like,
Yeah, oh totally.
so we had no choice. It was like, okay, so no one's sleeping. Okay, cool. Let me order in, shawarma, because, like, we got to do what we got to do.
So then when you have to get it out by certain deadline, does that kind of cure any perfectionist tendencies? Because I know that like for me, I'm very guilty
Oh,
of wanting to change that last little detail and da 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 da, da. And then the video comes out, and then it's like I can't. There's like a split second where I just want to vomit because I hate the choice I made or whatever. But if you're under a deadline, you're like, hey, this is me, warts and all. Like I don't know.
right. No, I would say that my entire team was a team of perfectionists, the
Yeah.
whole entire team. And so we were all fighting each other's perfectionism the whole entire time. Kevin Penlilio is the greatest graphic designer I've ever met in my entire life. He does,
Mm.
like, everything you see on Hey Misha as far as coloring and style and branding and all that. He created that out of, like, his own heart. Love that guy with all my heart. Anyways, to speak about perfectionism, he when we first met told me that, hey, one time I made a graphic that should only live on a white background, and someone put
Mhm.
it on a black background. That's not
Mm.
okay. I was like,
Mm.
I love your perfection. This is great. Like, if that's the guy I'm working with, like, I'm blessed. So working with him was like unbelievable. But then I had him, I had Adam, I had Mel, I had like Arlie, all these people who like do not accept mediocrity. So it was
Mm,
so hard for us because in green screen there's so much room for error. And
mm,
if the finger moves and you can see a little bit of green glow, like that's not okay. Our director of photography, Elijah Marchand, works on like, you know, big money commercials, big money movies, big money. Like
mm,
I don't know how we got him to work with us. I think he's just like a really nice guy. Because
mm,
it was such a small project, but he was like, I'm in. Same
mm.
thing. This guy did not sleep. This guy got into a car accident the day before we started filming and
Oh,
still showed up at work and still was like, this lighting is wrong. Like, we have to make sure the lighting is right. Like, he just was just like, so it
wow.
doesn't by any means cure perfectionism at all. I don't know the cure for it. So I think, you know what? It's like, if someone put me to sleep, then I wouldn't have like the anxiety, hot sweats due to my need for perfectionism. That's probably the
Mhm,
only way someone could pass something by me that I didn't think was 100%. Like, I just will not put it up unless I think it's amazing.
mhm.
Um, it's got to be fantastic. Like, it upsets me when someone takes my face and puts it on something and says, hey, Misha's going to be a part of this thing. And that's not the right photo. Like, I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, that was supposed to be shown in this place. Like, I'm still definitely that person who needs everything to be fantastic.
And I guess that'll help you with saying no and working on boundaries now. Is that more people want your attention or they want to use your brand or image? So I just wanted to know,
Yeah.
like, do you have any? What's advice you would give for somebody that wants to do the same path? You know, whether it's hosting or creating a variety show. What's like a piece of advice you could give to someone just starting out?
Well, a couple of things. The first thing is when I wanted to host, like when I was acting, I was like, I'd love to host. I
Mhm.
reached out to Johnny Hawken, who's the host of what was it even called? I think it was Movies and Review, Movie Night on MTV. I
Oh,
reached out to him and I asked him that question. I said, "What can I do in order to be a host?" And he said, "Go and make your own TV show." And
mm,
I was like, "Okay." And so I started making small episodes of random TV shows, and then it became like a kind of a reel. So I went to like Fashion Week and pretended to be a press person, and I
oh,
just like went and interviewed people, and I had this wonderful video of me doing that. I was on vacation I was a tour guide for a while, so I went to Chicago to do a tour guide thing. When I was there, I brought a camera. I was like, let me do like a pizza war and find out where's the best deep dish pizza in Chicago. So I recorded that. So for me, I would say the first thing is to communicate with a host that you think is kind of emulates what you want to do. So for instance, Carlos Bustamante is Canada's sweetheart, but he is
mhm,
also literally the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And I guarantee you, if you reach out to him and ask him, hey, how can I do what you're doing? He will respond. He will be there. He'll help you out. Like, he'll give you all the information that you need. So just kind of like reach out and ask the questions. In Canada, a lot of people, so usually people think that, the people who are doing the jobs they want have no time, but we
mhm,
do. We just have to prioritize it, right? So I'd say reach out to someone. The second thing is, yeah, make your own content for sure. Because at the end of the day, if I want to hire you, I want to see what you got before I bring you in. So make your own demo reels of what it is that you want to do. So if you're like, I want to do comedy, but I keep getting chosen for commercials, start making
mhm,
comedy reels so someone can see it. That's the main thing. And then I guess the last thing would be in the beginning of your career, don't say no to anything. Like,
mhm.
nothing's too small for you. I did like, um, not even telemarketing. What was it? Instructional videos for construction workers. Why was
Oh,
I doing that? Like, I've never touched a hammer in my life, but like there I
mhm,
am doing these videos for like I did it for months and months and months because it was money, but also because I need to get more comfortable reading on a teleprompter and working with a director. And that director kept on calling me in. Then he recommended me to another director. That director needed me for commercials that were all about food, and I was really good at eating and smiling at the same time. And so, boom, there I got Cineplex. Like, it was just like, so I think that these little things may seem like really monotonous, but like, just don't say no to the little jobs in the beginning. Even
yeah.
you'll know when the time is right, when you can start putting up boundaries and stopping certain
Mhm,
things. But I think in the beginning, you do need to run yourself out. Like, I was so broke so often. And I think
mhm.
that I'm okay with that because walking from Dufferin and Queen all the way down to like Sumac and wherever where you get jigsaw casting because I had no money was
Mhm.
like character building. Once I got there, I was like, I'm getting this commercial if my life
Yes.
depends on it.
Yes. And then once you start to book the commercials,
Yeah.
that'll even change. You got a couple thousand and you're just, you're an upstart actor. That can really change your attitude and mindset. And
Oh, for sure.
all those little skills you're building, it becomes worth it. You may not want to be doing construction videos forever, but
Yeah.
like you see the bigger picture, you got to
Yeah.
be sharp at the teleprompter. You got to be like this or that. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Where can we see these videos you're making to for hosting and stuff like this? Did you put that on YouTube or were these private links for casting directors?
Oh yeah, in the beginning I have like 3 YouTube channels at this point because every time I start a new thing I made a new show. But yeah, I put them all on YouTube. You will not see the ones that are bad because they'll ruin my reputation because they were such poor quality. But yeah, I put them all on YouTube and then I like kind of put them all together to make Instagram videos, and so I did that.
Yeah.
But this is kind of pre-Instagram
Mhm.
popping off that I made some of these videos. So I don't even know if I have them online anymore, but um, I've sent them to when someone reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I want to be a TV host. Like, how do I do it?" I usually send them these videos. I'm like, "This was me. This is how crap I
Mhm.
was." So this is this is where you can start, and you can end up having your own show one day.
Did you find when you first started releasing those videos that you were, a little maybe self-conscious about what people would think? Maybe you're trying something new. You might be a little bit
Um,
vulnerable.
I don't know if I really had that. I feel like I had nothing to lose at that point. So
Mhm.
I had no followers, I had no fans, I had no pressure. So I just did exactly what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm going to tell these jokes. Now, looking back on it, I think I probably should have like had some sort of filter, but I didn't. I just said what I wanted. I had these blogs of me talking about dating and like dates I went on. I used real names. I, interviewed people and
That
like it
is
was
so
just
funny.
I know.
I would freak if someone mentioned my name on a video about a date we went on. I'd be like, oh my God, I've got to call my lawyer right now.
Yeah, I yeah, I just was like, let me go do it. And I was just so determined. I was like, look, I have no, like, I won't be able to accomplish anything unless it's in entertainment because it's all I know how to do well. And
Mhm.
so I just did what I could. And I think that we need to be more bold. Like, I'm English, so I got that like brashness to me in a sense. But in Canada, there's like this hustle that we're finally trying to get to. Like it's like for a long time people weren't willing to be fully honest and fully open
Mhm.
um and fully bare and vulnerable and like say I'm good at this, like I'm a funny person, I'm talented at this. Like people weren't willing to do that, and so you get all these lukewarm performers who need to go to America to figure out that it takes more to be a star. So for me, I'm like, I would tell you that although yes you may be uncomfortable to like put a mic in someone's, like literally do on the street interviews and run up to strangers and talk to them, maybe it is never going to do that, but
Mhm.
if you don't do that, you don't like build a confidence to be able to do that, you don't deserve to be in this industry because it takes a lot more to stick around and really like be a part of this industry for years and decades and really make a go of it than being nervous to be awkward or embarrassed. You need to like
That's a
get over
really
that
good
as quick
point.
as possible and just be
That is a
willing.
really
Because
good
I tell
point.
you something, it will spit you out if you don't want to. I mean, yes, you can get commercials and you can say, "Oh, I'm an actor," or whatever. But let me tell you, there's nothing more uncomfortable than interviewing. Like I interviewed Marcus Stroman from the Blue Jays a couple years ago, and I was made to ask questions that were about children, and
Mhm.
he wanted to talk about sports. And I knew in that moment he's not going to want to answer this question. I'm so embarrassed because I'm standing around all these like sports net guys who are going to ask these intense sports questions, and here's me being like, "Hey, mac and cheese or mashed potatoes." I knew it wouldn't be well received in that moment, but I had to do it, and I was like, "Look, I'm going to do it." And in doing that, I got the MLB reached out to me to be one of their on-air hosts for the fun stuff. They were like, "She's down to like ask this kind of
Awesome.
random question to a celebrity athlete. Let me do that." And I think you just got to be willing to step out and be weird and be uncomfortable and be embarrassed because that's how you're really going to get success. You can't be lukewarm and want to be
Mm.
entertainment. Like, what is the point?
Yeah, it's like if you're scared of
I'll get off my soapbox.
no, no, this is great. If you're scared to sort of put yourself out there and risk, yet you still want to be a performer.
Mm,
It's like someone like that should shift their mindset, be more scared of not doing it and seeing 5, 10 years, 20 years
mm,
go down the line and who you are then. Because
mm.
if it's in your heart and you're scared, if you let that fear rule you, it's going to rule you into the ground, and you won't be what you
That's
want to be.
right.
And I think you've shown it. Like, you're bringing it. I'm inspired by this. I'm going to try and be more fearless, get out there
Yeah.
and all that. I'm hyped. I'm hyped. So
Awesome. That's so good.
where can we see Hey Misha? Where can we, for people that want to check it out?
Well, if you want to like have a look at what we got going on, I recommend going on our YouTube. So it's Hey Misha, all is one word, HeyMeisha, and find us there. You can see some of our stuff. We're always hiring actors. You do not need to be a Christian to be a part of our show. You just need to be open to hearing what we've got to say. It's all about kindness and joy, and we want funny actors to be a part of it. And so um, if that's what you're looking for, sounds great. If you want to be a part of what we're doing, I would love to talk to you. If you want to go on a social distance coffee date or talk in a park about what it takes to do this in this industry, I would be more than happy to do that as well. You can find me on Instagram at I am Misha.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your insights today, your wisdom. You're such a creator. So I just had to get you on, and can't wait for what's next.
Thanks, Will. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone. Goodbye, everyone. Be awesome. Be safe. I love you so much.
All right. Thank you, Misha, for being on the pod. I loved her stories. I thought she was giving so many valuable insights. To expand on just one of them, I'm going to say, whatever your vision is for yourself as an artist, just start now. Don't wait for an opportunity. Make your own opportunity just like she did. She's such a great example of that, merging her creativity and her talent with a willingness to hustle and put herself out there. If you enjoyed this pod, please share it with your friends. If you want to talk more about it, you can add me on Instagram at @IamWillEnnis, and tune in next week to Create Up. What's that? I won't do that intro again, but yeah, tune in next week.